Boys, imagine if you could make an online income that is fairly passive. It does not require you to click this, click that, jump on this Zoom call, etc., etc. Imagine if you could hire the right people at the right place to do the work for you, but most importantly, there is zero risk involved from yourself, meaning you do not risk any of your money. That is, my friend, what I'm going to be going over in today's video. We're going to be going over exactly who these little people are that you need to hire, what is the business model, and how you can set it up today as long as you are just 18 and over. That is the only requirement. Now, the little business model itself is called OnlyFans management. I'm sure most of you guys have heard of it by now, but it's very, very simple. Think about it. Everybody wants to be an influencer and a creator nowadays, right? And these girls, they get tons and tons of followers online and they don't know how to monetize it. Sure, a lot of them already are on OnlyFans, etc. However, they get stuck around $2,000 to maybe $5,000 a month, and they have no idea how to actually scale further. And then, secondly, think about any business on planet Earth. Most of them, 99.9% of them, are not ran by just one single person, right? If you walk into a restaurant, you're greeted by this person, then you're being taken to the table by this person, and then in the kitchen, you got another 3-4 people making the food, and so on, right? You go into a bank, you speak to this person, and then behind in the office, there's another person speaking to another person, and that's how a bank works, and so on, and so on, and so on, right? Now, OnlyFans is no different. It is a fucking business. Granted, it's not quite a bank, but it is a business, okay? And in business, you need more people to actually make more money. So that's where you come in. So a lot of these creators, they're trying their hardest. They're doing everything they humanly possibly can, but they either don't know the skills or they don't have enough time to actually do everything by themselves, right? They're trying to create the content, trying to edit it, trying to redistribute it, etc., etc. But like I said, they're stuck at 2 to 5K a month. Again, so this is you, okay? So also the business model of OnlyFans management, all you're going to do is you're going to take on creators who are already on OF. And like I said, they may be stuck at around $2,000 a month. You will take them on. And with what I'm about to show you today, without risking any of your own money, you're going to help them make more money. So you're going to help them go from 2K to maybe 50,000. Okay, maybe not in the first month, but you can help them go from 2K to maybe 4, then to 8, then to 12, then to so on and so on, right? And you take 50% of whatever you guys make total. Make sense? Okay, cool. So this is you. Now, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but I'm going to try and zoom in, okay? Now, this is you. And these are different people that you're going to be hiring. And don't worry, when I say hiring and staff members, etc., I think a lot of people have this misconception of, a business is a local, physical brick and mortar business where there's an office. You're going to have to buy tables. You're going to have to buy desks and Wi-Fi, and you're going to have to hire people in-house and blah, blah. Bro, it's 2025. Pretty much all of these people can be hired from across the world that you don't know, you've never met before, and you can pay them a fraction of what it would cost probably in your country. If you're from the UK, you're from the US, etc., any first world country, these people are very, very, very happy to be paid what I'm going to be going over, and they were going to work very, very hard for you, okay? So now, within OnlyFans management, there are 2 main parts, okay, in terms of how are you going to help the actual creator make more money. The first part is marketing and getting more people in to actually, subscribe to their OnlyFans. And then the second part is the chatting. So this is where your team is replying to the messages and selling the content, okay? Now, first of all, you obviously need a client. Without any clients, congratulations, you ain't got a fucking business, my friend, all right? So how do you get a client? Getting a client on OnlyFans is actually one of the easiest things. Right now, there's a statistic, again, I'll pop it up on the screen, back from 2024, so from last year's statistic, there was over 4.5 million creators, or around 4 million creators around the world, right? You just need 2 or 3 of them. Okay, in 2025, there isn't really been a public statistic released, but I'm assuming there's close to 5 million by now. I mean, think about it. You can't go a fucking day without seeing or hearing the word OnlyFans, right? It's everywhere. And a lot of people are jumping into it, etc., etc. So out of nearly 5 million people, all you got to do is either message somebody that you already know. Maybe you went to university with them, college. Maybe you work with one. Maybe you just know one from a club, or you dated a chick before and now she does OF, whatever. Drop them a message. If you don't know somebody directly, I'm pretty certain that you know somebody who knows somebody. Maybe one of your boys who's always going out, clubbing, partying, getting bowl shows, whatever, and he's good with girls. Drop him a message. He'll probably know somebody. Maybe you know a DJ. Maybe you know just some Chad, just some guy who gets loads of chicks, right? Now, But Marcus, I don't know anybody, and I don't know anybody that knows anybody. All right, my friend. Well, guess what fucking other option you've got? You've got to do some outreach, right? Whoop-de-fucking-do. It's business. Send out a bunch of messages, 30 messages a day. Literally, that's it. Like, do you really think you can't send out 30 messages a day? Super simple. Carry on. Within my licensing program, our students get a client within 2.5 weeks on average. Honestly, getting a client is not the difficult part. These models genuinely need your help. And like I said, there's nearly 5 million of them. And how many agencies do you actually know? Not many, right? So once you've done a bunch of outreach and you've got yourself 1 or 2 clients, this is where the fun starts, right? And already, maybe your client, the first one that you get, is already doing $2,000 a month, which is very doable, by the way. If you sign on your first client at $2K a month and you sign them on a 50% basis, you're already making $1,000 a month. But let's just say, your client's only making $200-300 a month, and maybe she's just starting out, or she really doesn't know what the hell's going on. It doesn't matter how much she's making, this will still work, okay? So when you do have a client, this is what are the steps that you're going to have to take. And by the way, I explain all of this in full detail in an entirely free course. You can check it out down below. It's a free school community. Click the link down below. You can check it out. But when you're just starting out and you got your first client, one of the first hires that you'll need to make are right here. And these are chatters, okay? So chatters are the people that will actually log in and reply to all the messages, send the pictures, send the videos, and actually sell the content on behalf of the creator, okay? Now, these people you can hire from South America, South Africa, Southeast Asia. And again, the main reason is because the currency exchange is massively in your favor, right? If you're from the UK, Europe, USA, etc., like $1 in places like South America, South Africa goes a very, very long way, right? That's the first thing. Second thing, in a lot of these places, these people work very, very hard. Most of my team are from South Africa. I absolutely love the guys. They work super hard, and we have a great relationship, right? Now, instead of hiring somebody from the UK and USA, because realistically, you're going to have to pay them a salary, right? And this is the first piece of advice. Your chatters, they will be on a commission-only basis. Now, there's no right or wrong way to do it. If you really want to, you can pay a salary, you can pay per hour plus a little commission. But just to be safe, you can literally do a commission-only basis. You can literally pay them a commission on what they generate, meaning that if they don't generate anything, you don't have to pay them. And you're very transparent, you're very clear from the get-go, and that's how you can get started, right? So initially, you just hire 1 chatter. So now this 1 chatter, again, let's just say it's somebody from South Africa, for example, right? Probably a guy similar to you, maybe 21, 22, 23 years old, whatever. And he's just like, bro, I'm just super hungry. I'm ready to make money. I've got a laptop. I've got Wi-Fi. I'll just send out some fucking messages. It's really not that difficult. Now, by the way, this specific video is not going to be going over like exactly how to do the messages, how to do the marketing, etc. I've got tons of videos on YouTube and my free community, free school course, where I actually teach you the practicals of all this stuff. This one is just an overview of how you can get this whole thing set up running where you don't really have to do a whole load of work yourself. All right. So first of all, you get 1 chatter. And this chatter, the first one, will most likely do the busiest shift. The busiest shift is typically the evening time of the model. So, for example, let's just say you got your first client and this client is from the UK, right? And in the UK, obviously, depending on the time zone, I think it's GMT 004 or whatever the fuck it is. That time zone, whatever the hell it is, between 9 p.m. and about 2-3 a.m., that's going to be the most busiest shift, okay? Because that's when most of her fans are going to be at home, they're online, and they're ready to chat and blah, 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 all right? So that's when you're going to get this person to log in during these 8 hours and reply to all the messages and start making some sales for you. It is honestly so simple. But the guys are already coming onto OnlyFans. They just need somebody to reply. And the creator, she herself, does not have the time to stay up till 3 a.m. every single night and reply to hundreds of messages. That's where this guy comes in, all right? So you got this one guy. And at the beginning, yes, it is you just speaking to this guy and managing him yourself, right? And when I say managing him, just literally jumping on a quick little call every single day. Just, hey, bro, how was yesterday? Yeah, today's going to be a great day. I'm super looking forward to it, etc., etc. Eventually, fast forward a couple of days, couple of weeks, you're going to get your second chatter. And this one could just be the first chatter's friend. For example, like I said, let's just say the first chatter is from, I don't know, Cape Town in South Africa. he's probably going to have one of his boys who's also a similar position as him. Got a Wi-Fi, got a laptop, got some time in his hands, and is ready to make some money, right? So now this second chatter does the second busiest shift, which is typically the morning, okay? So now you've got the night shift covered and you've got the morning covered as well, right? So the nighttime is when the fans are like, from work, whatever, blah, blah. The morning is before they go to work and again, they're online, they're chatting. So now again, you're managing this person and there's two chatters now, right? And then obviously all of a sudden, eventually, once you got enough traffic, and we'll get to traffic in a second, once you are ready, you hire the third one and they each do 8-hour shifts, okay? And they rotate. One guy does 8 hours, logs off. The next chatter does 8 hours, logs off. The next chatter logs on, does 8 hours, logs off. And now the first one logs back on because he's now slept, eaten food, whatever, and he's back online, okay? So this is how you're able to manage the messages all day, every day. So now, whenever the creator is posting reels and TikToks, etc., and she's bringing in new fans and new subscribers, like there's going to be a message answered on her OnlyFans at all times. This is really where the money starts to come in. This is now, remember when I said, let's just say your creator was only making $300-400 a month. At this point, she's probably already doing around $4,000. And bear in mind, you're taking 50% of that, okay? And you can pay these guys a small percentage in commission. Again, remember, in places like South Africa, South America, Southeast Asia, etc., $600, $700, $800, $900 goes a very long way. And obviously, by the way, you're just starting out. I'm not saying you're forever going to, pay these guys only a couple $100s. When you're just starting out, you're obviously trying to keep, costs low or fairly low. But that's how you're going to start off. Okay, stay with me, my friend, okay? Now, eventually, what you're going to do, because this does require a fair bit of time, you are constantly speaking to your chatters all day, every day. And then obviously the second one, so the first one logs off, then the second one, you now got to speak to the second one, and then the third one, now you got to speak to the third one, you got to catch up with them, make sure you keep them motivated, etc. No, it's only a couple of hours a week, but still, you can delegate that. And how do you do that? Well, out of these free chatters, one of them is typically, one or two of them is going to perform a lot better, right? And typically what you want to do is you want to take that first or second chatter and you want to promote them, okay? So now, instead of them perhaps being on a commission-only basis, they get promoted to a team leader. So this is now a chatting team leader. And guess what? You no longer have to actually speak to the chatters yourself because instead, this team leader is the one that manages them, right? And also, by the way, so let's just say you promoted this guy, okay, as a team leader. You obviously need to replace him. So again, you message him, hey, bro, do you have any other friends? Maybe he doesn't. Maybe this guy does. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe this guy does. This guy goes, oh, yeah, I've got a friend of mine I went to university with, whatever. He's got Wi-Fi. He's got a laptop, and he's just ready to work. Congratulations. You now promoted this guy. This guy's now he used to be a chatter, so he knows everything about chatting, but he's now been promoted to manage the chatters underneath him. Okay, makes sense. And now, instead of you speaking to 3 people, all right, every single day, you now just speak to one person. That's fucking it. You just speak to one person once in the morning, and you get him to check in with all 3 chatters to make sure they're doing their job correctly and everything is going smooth. Okay. And then, by the way, eventually, what you want to do is you just want to keep scaling it. And by the way, you get like a second, third, fourth client on board, right? So now you have like 5 creators that you're managing. And obviously you need more chatters, right? The more creators you bring on, the more messages that need to be answered, right? So now you got the next chatter, you got another chatter, you got another chatter. And again, the same thing, you promote one of these chatters to become a team leader. And again, this team leader manages these 3 chatters. And then, by the way, this can just keep being extrapolated into more and more and more and more teams, okay? So when it comes to chatting, about as simple of a basic setup as I can explain in this short little YouTube video, that is that, okay? So chatting, basically a tick. Okay, the next part is obviously the marketing. So if you're not bringing in new fans, new subscribers, you're not going to be able to send out any messages because there's nobody to talk to. So you obviously need to understand how to do marketing, how to go viral, how to bring in new subs. Again, in our free school community, we teach that. It's literally free. So if you're interested and you want to get started, as long as you're 18 and over, you can click the link down below, get started with us free school community, okay? And there we explain the marketing in a bit more detail. But once you get marketing, which to be honest, it's fairly straightforward. If you just scroll on Instagram and TikTok and something grabs your attention, you need to stop and think, why did that just grab my attention? What was it about this specific video that made me stop and watch? Okay. But then eventually what you want to do is you want to hire essentially a marketing manager, right? So who's this marketing manager? Where are you going to find them? What does he do? And how much do you pay him? Okay. Again, all of these questions I can answer in our school community, but in this short little YouTube video, this is typically somebody who comes from like an SMMA background, a social media marketing background, right? So maybe this person is already good. To be honest, this could be one of those people that clips for maybe Andrew Tate back in the day, or clips for, I don't know, some other influencer, and he's already understanding how to go viral on TikTok, Reels, and so on, right? You want to message these pages, and eventually, I'm not saying the first one, but eventually you'll get through to somebody who's similar like you, 21, 22, 23, whatever, understands marketing, understands how to go viral, and you take him under your wing and you work with him. And at the very beginning, he can just simply coach your creators, your clients, on what to do and how to do it to go viral, right? So he jumps on a call with your clients, says, hey, look, you're doing an amazing job. However, this is how you can improve it, right? This is how you go viral. This is how a hook works, on a reel. This is how you do trial reels. This is how you use CapCut. This is how you edit. This is how you post, and blah, 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 okay? Now, once he is very, very good and up and running, you can then start to essentially outsource his work. And when I say outsource, essentially try to replace certain of his tasks. So if he's actually editing the content itself, so he's editing the TikToks and editing the Reels, and he's also logging into your client's Instagram and TikTok and posting them for you, you can eventually put an SOP together, like a training document together, and you can get him to actually train other people to do that for him, right? And again, by the way, all of these guys can be on a commission basis. And again, the commission can be worked out based off of how much subscriptions come in. You can work it out based off how many followers, how many times they post, and really depending on what they're doing, okay? But then eventually, these guys are your editors, right? Okay, cool. So these guys are actually editing the content, and they can also be posting it. Obviously, if they're in somewhere like South Africa, for example, they are going to need to use proxies and a VPN and so on and so on. But that's for another time, for another call, for another YouTube video, all right? So that's that. But then you could also get people in the UK, USA, who could actually be posting the content. So maybe this guy is in the UK, and this guy is in USA, and this guy does maybe Twitter. Cool. And then this guy does, for example, Reddit, okay? Cool. So now, all of a sudden, you've got the main marketing manager who manages the editors. So the client creates the content, sends the content to this guy sends it to these two, and these two edit the content. And then these two send the edited content to the guy on Reddit, and he posts it on Reddit, and then he sends it to the guy on Twitter, and he posts it on Twitter. And then again, perhaps this guy posts it on TikTok and Instagram Reels, okay? And as you can see, you just simply manage this person. You simply just manage the marketing director. So let's just say MD, marketing director, right? And again, at this point, you simply speak to the chatting team managers and the marketing director, and everything else is done for you. You yourself are not replying to any of the messages on OF. You yourself are not editing the content. You yourself are not posting on Reddit or Twitter or Instagram or TikToks, etc. You have people doing this for you, right? So just one of my clients last month, we done $105,000. We take 50% of that. So we done around 52-ish, 52.5K, whatever. And this is the exact setup that I have. I mean, it's a little bit more extrapolated, of course. Like we have more teams, we have more people here, we have Snapchat and YouTube and Facebook and so on. But the point is that this is about as simple as it can get. And it gets even better, by the way. You can then hire one more person, which is an absolute game changer, which what we like to call is a model scout, right? So this is a person, so this person right here. So this is typically just somebody with sales experience, right? I'm just going to put MS. So this is a model scout. So this is a person who does outreach for you. He tries to find more clients for your agency, right? So remember when I said at the very beginning, you can send out 30 messages a day and eventually you're going to get a client. It is honestly that simple. This is the person that does that. This guy sends out 30 messages on one account. Then he creates another one, and now he sends out another 30. So now you're doing 60 messages a day, right? And so on and so on. And again, you can pay him a commission based off of either how many meetings he sets, how many models that you sign, or a percentage off of the total earnings off of the creator that he's gotten for you. So for example, if he gets you one creator and you scale this creator to $10,000 and you give him 5% of that, cool, that's just one. But then he gets another client and another one. And all of a sudden, he's already at $1,500 a month, right? Guys, this honestly is one of the easiest ways to make money online in 2025. As long as you're 18 and over, I truly don't believe that there is a better way to make money online. I've been able to retire my mom, travel the world, buy some supercars. I live in a pretty cool house and been able to do whatever the fuck I want on my own terms, thanks to this exact shit. If you're interested, message me on Instagram at Markuss Hussle or check out the link down below for my free school community. Bye.